2, 1. Here we are recording.
Hello.
Welcome to the Davidthedogtrainer podcast, episode 45.
45.
Here we are. Josh, what's going on?
Not much, man. On that Ohio weather roller coaster.
That's right. What is it, still like 60 degrees out right now?
I don't know. It's a little cooler than it was yesterday. Yesterday was
46 degrees out.
46.
Yesterday was like 65.
Yeah. And then the day before that was like 34.
Yes.
You gotta love this old Midwest weather.
I know.
But
Snow again on Monday, it looks like.
really?
Yeah. Nothing really consistent, though. What is next Thursday is Thanksgiving, right?
Yep.
No snow. 45. Snow again next Saturday. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I'm ready for the snow.
Yeah. Same.
I'm ready for it.
I just want it to be here and stay.
I would like for it to stay winter.
Yeah, because then I can, like, once I get acclimated to the cold weather, I'm fine. You know, throwing a jacket's good. But then when I have like a 70-degree day in between, you know,
The back and forth.
yeah, that's how
You don't know
everyone
what to
gets.
plan for.
That's how you get sick. Got to keep that immunity up.
This is true.
Speaking of, you're keeping your immunity up with that training over there. 2 weeks in,
Swole.
swole.
It's going well.
That's
2
good.
weeks into the workout and diet plan. Crushing it. Tracking the macros still. Feeling good. Seeing results. Sticking with it. So here's what
Yeah.
I'm nervous about, though. I was talking
Okay.
with Kate about this yesterday.
All right.
So, you know, this is like a 30-day thing that I'm doing, right?
Yeah.
Which is going to be all of this month through like December 3rd, right? I'm going to take Thanksgiving off. It's going to be the only day that I take off, right? And I'll have achieved all of this progress,
Yeah.
right? Then we leave on December 8th for our honeymoon, and we're going to be gone for like 2 weeks in Hawaii, eating and drinking.
Oh, yeah,
everything that we want. So I was talking to her about it yesterday. I was like, oh, my God. I was like, I'm trying to figure out, like, how do I – because, like, I'm pretty confident that in 2 weeks I could ruin every single bit of progress that I achieved in the last 30 days.
In Hawaii, too?
You know? So I'm kind of mentally coming up with a game plan of how I want to handle that.
Yeah. Hey, you're going to look damn good for those first 2 or 3 days,
First
though.
2 days,
Yeah.
pool ready.
Shredded. Yeah, dude. Are you going to visit all the islands, or you got any plans yet?
Not really.
Yeah, you're just going to
No,
go.
we're gonna wing it.
Yeah.
I think as we get a little bit closer, like in that, because like we're leaving like it's like 3 weeks from now. I think as we get a little bit closer, we will start planning out a little bit more and stuff.
Yeah.
But right now, I'm not even
It's
crossing
beautiful.
that bridge, dude.
Yeah. It's amazing over
been
there.
there?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like 14, so I didn't get like the total, like, didn't soak it all in. I was just a
Yeah.
little kid, but
14 in Hawaii.
yeah. It
What
was
do you do
awesome.
at 14 on Hawaii?
You go to the beach and look at cute girls, basically. But
Josh is sitting on the
Yeah.
beach peeping.
yeah, make sure you go to the. All I'm saying is, make sure you go to the gas station, or not grocery store, not gas station, grocery store, and go to their spam aisle, because that's
Spam?
spam is their number one protein.
Really?
Yeah, because it's the cheapest thing to import.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I like Spam.
Yeah. Oh, it's
Dude,
they
I
have
love some fried Spam.
Yeah,
Ooh, in the
it'll literally
morning,
be
slice it up.
it'll be the whole aisle on one side. Yeah, they have like different flavors, like barbecue. They have like a wasabi one.
Yeah.
all this, and then another thing that you have to try is it's basically like a sushi roll, but it's Spam. Yeah, and yeah, it's just like a little sandwich thing. They put rice on each side and then wrap it. in seaweed.
Little hand roll.
Yeah, it's and I was like, this is not bad. Even at 14, I was like, okay.
I like it.
Yeah, I love Spam.
I'll give it a go. I don't know how Spam would fit in my macros right now, but
Not good.
sounds like probably the worst thing that I could eat.
Literally
Going
just
there.
fat. Yeah.
Fat and like sodium.
Oh yeah.
You know, like that's
so
all,
much salt.
That's all it is.
Like 4,000 milligrams or whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, Tartine Bistro went there last Thursday.
How'd it go?
Oh, it was delicious. Went really well. Their food's like beautiful. You know, it's like very colorful. Got the purples and the greens and the blues and grains. I don't know. I love texture. So everything there was good. I highly recommend that you go there. I'm just saying.
I'm pretty sure Kate's been there. But
yeah, Kate's been there. You haven't, and that's a sad thing because it was delicious. This is the best part of my job, is that I get to eat it all after, you know? It's like I take some cool pictures, and then I get to eat, like, sample all this great food. So
hell yeah.
I'm just letting you know it is worth it. And then actually yesterday I did Cloak and Dagger's next menu. We did it a little early.
Yeah.
We just wanted to get it out of the way, but it's all their winter drinks and stuff.
When does it come out?
Second week of December, I think is when they're planning on it. So, yeah, they have like a candy cane drink and all kinds of stuff. It's gonna be exciting.
That sounds delicious.
Yeah, you'll have to go. You'll really like it. Yeah,
that's cool. We've been pretty busy. So I've been obviously training so for the last 2 weeks, I've been training our new trainer, and we had a shadow student in for like 3 days as well. So it's just been a lot of, even though my days have not necessarily been like extremely long.
Yeah,
I've needed to be very on in those days, you know?
Yeah.
So luckily, as far as training the new trainer is concerned, again, like we've talked about this before, Michelle, she's got a lot of experience, obviously. She's a very competent trainer already. So it's really just kind of getting her acclimated to like our program in specific that we do. You know? But it's still been a lot of like clarifying, a lot of just making sure that I'm on my A game in my lessons, so she could see like this is obviously, you know, best case, like what these typically look like, and answering questions as far as the differences in programs that she's done before versus what we're doing, and really getting into the weeds of a lot of the training. Like there's obviously, you know, like in the past when I've trained, say, newer trainers, say we get a new board and train trainer that doesn't have a whole lot of dog training experience, and we're kind of just teaching baseline stuff. You know, it's nothing too crazy or anything. It's like, this is how, you know, going over the guide, right? This is how we teach our leash pressure. This is how we teach our sits, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Well, she already knows all of those things, obviously. So I'm getting less into this is how we teach those things, and this is why we teach things in this way. You know, so it's a lot more of like the actual science and nuance behind things. And frankly, it's definitely challenged my brain a little bit, because it's forcing me to kind of get into articulating some stuff that I don't talk about as frequently. You know?
I was going to say, this is kind of the first time you've had a trainer that's been doing a different thing for many years.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, honestly, like this is probably the most prior experienced trainer that we've had, you know, ever, obviously. So it's been a lot of that, and then obviously we had our shadow student in, Candace from McSparkins down in West Virginia. She came up for 3 days. We were just talking about this, found us through the podcast, thought that was really cool, and decided to make the trip up for 3 days to hang out. And it was a lot of it was cool because like really like she was just there to shadow and take notes. Like she didn't really have a whole ton of questions necessarily. It was just like, I just want to observe the operations. I just want to, you know, see how you conduct your lessons, see how you do this kind of stuff, this kind of stuff, this kind of stuff. So that was really cool too, because we did get into having some really interesting conversations about business, and she's obviously a very talented individual, but she's only had her company now for just over 2 years.
Gotcha.
So we kind of discussed some situations she was having, just from a operational standpoint, that are things that I feel like I've experienced and or seen a decent amount of times, where it's like, you know, this is how this could turn into a problem here. This is how this can adjust later on here. And there's a lot of those types of conversations. So that was really cool as well. We don't get a ton of shadow students in, mostly because we literally never advertise it. It's not on the website anymore. It's not something that I post about on my personal page that much, you know. But we've had a decent amount of them come through, and they're always fun. We keep them really loose, you know. It's not like, I don't know. I think some people get really crazy with like, we have a 5-day shadow program and it's $8 gazillion. We have this curriculum we put you through and this and that. And I don't know. I think that kind of format is okay if you're a totally brand new trainer and you need to just have like, this is a baseline. Like we were talking about, like training a new board and train trainer. This is like a start to finish of like how to get yourself rolling, you know? But I don't know. I always try to look at myself as a consumer. with things. And if I were to do some sort of shadow program somewhere, I would want to have it be kind of how I do it, where it's like the person just comes and they're there and they have access to you the entire time that they're there. And literally anything they want to get into, we can get into, right? Yeah. We started off, obviously, she wanted to just kind of, again, shadow, here's a day at Miracle Canine. So she shadowed, here's a day at Miracle Canine, right? New trainer we're working with, boarding stuff we're getting situated, handling, getting ready for the holiday boarding season, all that kind of stuff, right? And then day 2, she wanted to talk a little bit more about the business side of things. So we were able to get into those types of things. And, it's just a lot of that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Which I think was really cool because it wasn't so rigid. I think that the natural things that were happening sparked a lot of just interesting dialogue and conversation that helped or can help with just the general growth of your company where you need it, right? Yeah. There are certain people that certain aspects of their business are already good, right? Yeah. Or good enough, right? That's not what they're looking for help with, you know? Mm-hmm. She's trying to roll out some new training programs. So a lot of it was talking about, here's how we start to roll out new training programs. Yeah. So that was really cool. So we had a good time with that. Mm-hmm. I would definitely like to do, I kind of explained, to some of the staff after she left, I was like, I really have a passion for doing that kind of stuff. Like, I want to help people learn from mistakes that I've made, Yeah. And continue to grow themselves, to grow their companies, to grow their training programs. Yeah. And not that I'm the end all be all with it, but like I've made a lot of mistakes within the company, and I've learned and grown from a lot of those mistakes. So I think that, we could provide quite a bit for newer people to learn from those things as well. Yeah. So I mean, that's been cool.
I think that's partly a big reason why you started this anyway. The podcast in general was to help people out, because we talk a lot about people that are trying to get into training and stuff like that. So I think it just correlates to how you are as a person, what you want to do is help these people, because you always talk about community, you know? Mm-hmm. You want to kind of make this huge network that benefits everybody in the dog training world. So I think you should do more of them. I mean, if you could structure some sort of like program for people, that'd be great.
Yeah, I've been putting some thoughts together on rolling out. So random brainstorming here, right? So I've put some thought together over the course of the last month or two here on the idea of coming out with a formal advertised shadow kind of situation, right? Yeah. Or a more formal, like, work with, and this is where we'll kind of get into, like, I've avoided this for a long time, but I'm considering adding it back in, like a formal, like, work with me kind of program, that isn't what we typically offer to our clients, like our 10 session program or a board and train program or this or that. Have it be more of like a, call it like a master class or something like that, where it's like people who have already trained their dogs elsewhere or whatever, right? That need, just like we were talking about the shadow program, that want that like more experienced eye on things, want that fine tuning, whatever, that I would be able to provide something like that for them. Because here's the thing, right? The programs we offer right now are obviously phenomenal, right? We're putting out a really great product. All of our trainers have that access to me. So if they run into any issues, like, we're going to get those issues resolved for people, right? Sure. But we still run into a lot of people that want to work specifically with me. And I've avoided that for a long time, by saying, again, we're creating a company here, right? Yeah. Which means that all of the people here are going to provide still the same baseline service, right? But past just that service, right? People that want to take their training to that next level, right? That advanced place that they want to learn more about that. Like we were talking about the ins and outs of why we're doing the things that we're doing. Yeah. We could still provide something like that that's a little bit higher for those people to help keep them engaged with their dog, right? And help keep them engaged in growing their relationship with their dog. And like I said, I've been back and forth on offering something like that for a while now. And seeing how I would do it and how I would want to structure it out.
Yeah. Well, I feel like now you're getting to a point where you have the time for it.
Yeah.
I think that's the biggest thing for you, because you haven't had the time. And now you have the right people in the right place
Yeah.
To be able to free up the ability for that.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
Speaking of, how's the across the way?
It is finished.
Finished?
Yeah. So the only, I mean, it's finished, right?
Yeah.
It's finished. So our painters came in yesterday and did their touch-up work. We've been using it for lessons, which is great. The only thing that we need to do is get our own man door put in the front, which is happening, I think, on the 30th. Nice. But everything else is totally done in it. So it's been cool. We've been able to implement that and been using that for lessons a lot, which is awesome.
Yeah.
Those two additional spaces.
Yeah. I see Daycare's back.
Yeah, so we're doing an enrichment daycare service we started offering. Right. So we're capping off at 6 dogs a day for it. And basically each one of those dogs, it's different, right? And so far the people talking about it's definitely been a more positive thing for everybody, obviously. So as opposed to the dogs just being loosely out for 12 hours every single day, we are offering an enrichment day service where your dog is essentially getting a minimum of like 1 hour of 100% dedicated time to them, right?
Yeah.
They're getting walking where they're improving on their walking skills. They're getting training while they're here to improve on their training skills. Okay. They're getting like hand selected socialization to improve on their socialization skills with their dog, you know? And I think it's going to help both the dogs that are a little bit more difficult, that need that extra eye on them and need that little bit extra control, right, to get them a little bit more mentally engaged, help them progress with their socialization better, and a brush up or tune up on some of their just general training skills while they're here, obviously. And then I think some of the more sensitive dogs that may not be difficult, may not have aggression issues, stuff like that, we could help them open up more by really, really catering those training sessions or social groups to them and their individual needs, and making sure the dogs that we're working them with are going to help them come out of their shell a little bit more. You know, they're not going to get put on the back burner because we have 3 difficult dogs out here that are out at the same time as them that we're constantly needing to micromanage, which is causing that dog to feel like, oh, I'm just going to go hang out off to the side. Like, I don't want any part of this, you know? Instead, that time is just going to be about them, you know?
Okay, are you doing this Monday through Friday, or are you doing certain days?
Monday through Thursday.
Monday through Thursday.
Yeah.
All right.
Friday is too busy with boarding and stuff like that with the enrichment services that we're offering them. So it's cool. Yeah, we're only taking 6 at a time to make sure, again, we could give each one of those dogs really, really individualized attention. Yeah. And it's been cool so far. Actually, today is the last day of the first week with it, and it's been almost fully booked up every day so far. Yeah. So it's been cool.
Well, I mean, that's like such a huge benefit for anyone that has had training with you guys. I mean, it's just such a bonus thing to throw in. Like, hey, we do these enrichment things Monday through Thursday. I mean, if you need any kind of brush up anything,
it's pretty much gonna hit those nails on the head. And I think it's cool because like right now it's, you know, we're getting started with it. We're kind of playing around with it and seeing how it goes, which is why we're keeping those numbers so low. We're pretty strict about what we're doing with the dogs while they're here, obviously. But as we continue to grow this, I think we really can start pushing this as like a true tune-up for the dogs. Yeah, exactly. Like right now, it's still just enrichment. It's mental stimulation. I'm not advertising this as like this is gonna take all your problems and make them better or anything like that. Yeah. It's just mental stimulation for the dog. But again, as we start realizing how this is going, we're gonna hit a point where I think that we can start advertising it as like, you know, if you're having issues on the walk, this is going to greatly improve on those things. Yeah. You know, if you're having issues with your bed commands inside, this is going to greatly improve on those types of things, you know? Yeah.
And I think it's a great thing too, if, you know, you need someone else to like work with your dog, you know, if your dog has those issues, it's a good way to keep your dog in tune with working with other people.
100%, you know, like, Mary Jo, Kingston's owner, reached out to me yesterday, and she's like, you know, should I start bringing Betty to this, or do you think I should just keep bringing Kingston? Do you think it'd be beneficial for her? I was like, honestly, I think it's going to be equally beneficial to both of them from the standpoint of Kingston is one of those dogs that he would come to daycare, and he would benefit from it, but he would kind of be on a muzzle, and he would just hang out there and be on a muzzle, and that was it, right? It was just because we had so many dogs out, right? It's like we can't supervise him 100% himself, but Kingston in his house is off muzzle with the other dogs all the time, right? We've had him off muzzle in daycare before, and he's cool, right?
Yeah.
So because he's having individual social time, he's going to benefit from being able to open up a little bit more, right? Not only that, but he's going to get a little bit of training time while he's here, right? And then Betty, not that she had issues socially, like she's going to be fine from getting some socialization work, but getting that training time in with somebody different once every other week or something like that, with a dog that had some like pretty serious aggression issues, that's going to greatly improve on her ability to start seeing more people as a position of authority. You know, wow, this person is enforcing doorways, and this person is enforcing leash walking, and this person is making me hold bed stays around distractions, and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And I'm not able to just control it right now. You know? Things like that are going to be very beneficial for a dog like her as well. You know? So I'm pretty excited. We raised the price point a little bit for it. So before, you know, our daycare services always were like $30 a day, or we did like 10-day packages for $280, so like $28 a day. We put a flat rate at $45 a day for this. We're not doing packages or anything because we're doing so many less dogs per week, obviously. Like literally 6 a week, as opposed to before we do like 25 to 30 dogs in a day. So the higher price point obviously allows us to be able to give more individual attention to the dogs. And, you know, this is a lot more specialized of a service that we're offering. You know, again, that individual dog is getting so much more out of it. So I see this, and here's the funny thing, right? Originally, when I raised that price point, I was like, this is going to be something that people maybe do once or twice a month with their dog. You know, come in once or twice a month, get a little brush up, get some additional training time for their dog. We're still finding people are coming like 2 days a week for this.
Really?
Or I should say, I mean, we've only done it for a week, but we've had people say, we're going to bring our dog twice a week to this.
You know, it's really cool because I think just from seeing it personally, like daycare never really, like the standard daycare never really fit the mold. You know, it was always something that we offered. So what we tried to do originally with daycare was we tried to take this service that everybody was offering, which was just let's get a bunch of dogs together. Right. And we tried to just say, okay, cool. We could make this fit the mold just by making it client exclusive. Right. But you start realizing as you do that and as you grow, right? Because like originally when we started it, I had mentioned this before on the podcast. When we originally started it, there were so few dogs in our circle, you know, and we knew them so well, and our training staff ran that service, and it was just, we were able to make it however we needed it to be, because it was such a small group. But as it grew, we started realizing, regardless of if we're making this client exclusive, this mold of just throw a bunch of dogs in a room together for 12 hours and like try to make sure none of them get displeased at all is so faulty just by nature, by itself, you know? 100%. It's so unnatural to like create this giant pack that just hangs out together all the time. Yeah, exactly. And,
you know,
and now it's like it feels like it has a purpose.
It does, you know, and it's so cool to take. Best example of it that I can think of is Clark, right? So Clark, the dog that used to go to Heights all the time, right? Dog that bit you on the leg.
Yes. Oh, I remember Clark.
So there's this dog Clark, right? And listen, he was aggressive, but like he's a big scaredy cat, you know. Like honestly, like he's not that bad, whatever, you know. So Clark did a board and train with us, and Clark, before, he used to board with Heights, right? Like he never had a chance to open up, right? Like he was kind of like, oh, well, like, he's got issues and he doesn't really fit in daycare, and you know, he doesn't really you know, like he doesn't really get anything out of boarding because like he can't fit in daycare and whatever. He did a board and train with us. We realized he really wasn't that bad of a dog. We realized he just needed a little bit of direction, and he was kind of a little bit of a wimp around new people, right? Which was causing him to act out aggressively, right? And we learned that in really small groups with him, like he would thrive with the other dogs and would totally come out of his shell. But because he never had the opportunity to do that before, his whole experience with boarding was just basically being scared, right? Like he never had a chance to open up. He had all these weird people handling him. He was isolated from other dogs and stuff like that. And he never benefited, right? So we started realizing as we would get him these really small play groups and have that be incorporated with like new people in the play group and stuff like that, he completely 180 came out of his shell. Right? Like he was like the happiest dog with the other dogs.
Yeah.
And he would get so excited when he would come in for boarding. And he would get so pumped when the new people would interact with him and train with him and stuff like that, because that's the first time that he felt like he was able to communicate properly with somebody and that both parties were on the same page.
Yeah.
You know? And again, like this day enrichment service is created for dogs like him, right? Exactly. It's created for dogs like him that need that. Like we're going to focus on Clark right now, right? This next hour is about you, right? And this next hour is about, we're going to get you a nice play group with a couple of other dogs where you're going to really open up and have a really good time and get your like adrenaline and levels up and everything like that. And you can have fun. And then we're going to go for a nice long walk and we're going to work on our training. Then we're going to come back in and work on some bed stays and some down stays with you. You know, and we're going to be connected for this full hour.
Yeah.
Right. And it's going to be about Clark.
Yep.
Right. And even if he gets nothing past that, even if it's just that hour, right, that's 200 times more productive than anything else you could do with that.
Yeah.
Dog. 200 times more productive than him sitting in a corner being stressed out for 12 hours while 30 dogs are running around him and nobody's interacting with him in a proper way. Nobody's mentally stimulating him and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
Yep.
That's what it's created for. It's for dogs like that.
Yeah. More in an hour than you'll get in a whole day there.
100%.
For sure.
So, and that's the biggest thing I'm really pushing on people is because here's the thing, right? Like outside of that time, we are kenneling these dogs up, right? We're crating them up until pickup time, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to reiterate that point so much to them of how productive just that amount of time is for them because it's about that dog. It's about your dog.
Yeah.
Right? And it's about productively pushing them along. Where people don't feel it. Because daycare, the issue with common day or with standard daycare, and the thing about standard daycare is it pushes this mentality for people, right? It reinforces this mentality in their head of like, my dog needs to be out doing stuff all the time. All the time.
Yeah.
Right? And that's not what's going to be happening in these day enrichment services. But it's going to be more beneficial for the dog. We got to get people to believe that point.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, I mean, even if you take like a human child, like if you take your kid to the park for an hour and going hard at the playground, what are they doing for the next 6 hours?
Going hard on the bars.
They're sleeping after that. They're going for a nap. You know, it's the same thing with dogs. Yeah.
Well, it's funny. Brittany brought Henry to daycare yesterday, or the day before yesterday. And same deal. Like he had his hour or so of time, right? Plus a little bit more. You know, if the dog is very social with other dogs, we could use them in some of the socialization with other dogs. So some of them are getting a lot more than that, obviously. But you know, he came to the daycare and she told me she was like he was like 10 times more tired from that day than any of the other daycare days that he came to, right? Because it was more work for him, right? He got the stimulation, the physical exercise and stuff with the play, but he also got his little noodle worked a little bit.
His little noodle.
Got that little noodle cranking, you know?
Yeah, it's kind of like a little, it's kind of like a, you know, preschool or like school in general for like the dog. Like you drop your dog off and he's going to get his brain worked, you know?
100%.
Get that knowledge.
100%. Get that knowledge.
It was a good daycare tangent.
Yeah.
I like that.
So it was cool. So I'm excited to see how the next couple of weeks go with it. Yeah. I'm really trying to also, you know, we're trying to definitely highlight those dogs that are coming for those services as well. You know, like who did we have? Let's see. Who did we have yesterday?
Oh, okay. Yeah, like an individual highlight.
Yeah.
That's
so yesterday
nice.
we had, you know, Cooper. We had Hobbs and Rocco. We had this dog Smalls that comes in, right? So we're trying to do like individual highlights with these dogs, right?
Smalls.
Dude, Smalls is also a fucking giant.
He's a giant.
Yeah. So obviously there's Mr. Smalls out socializing with other dogs, right? There's Hobbs right there.
Yeah.
There's there's Hobbs again. There's Rocco hanging out with Jimmy. And then obviously Cooper's in those photos as well, right? So like all of those dogs are out doing their thing, right? And all of them are having a good time in it as well. So trying to figure out ways to obviously highlight some of those individual things that we're doing with the dogs while they're there, you know, to make sure people are seeing like, hey, this is what's going on. This is we got them working here.
Yeah.
You know, et cetera, et cetera. So
I just love that Jimmy's still there too.
Jimmy, dude, he got dropped off the other day. It's funny. Kayla was asking. We saw him on the calendar for boarding, and she's like, "Who's Jim? Do you know who Jim is?" I was like, "Jim? What?" I was like, "I don't know a fucking Jim." You know? And then she's like, "Oh yeah." And there's another dog, Wendy. I was like, "Jimmy."
Yeah.
I was like, "I know Jimmy."
Oh yeah.
Never heard him called Jim in my life.
Yeah,
though.
never. Jimmy's the OG almost at this point.
Okay, cool. So, long tangent to say, a lot of stuff going on, obviously. Excited with everything. Excited how everything's going. So, what we're going to do here, got a couple comments here. I want to discuss question comments here. And then I believe we got a couple articles we're going to get into here. All right, let's see what we got.
All right.
All right. Here it is. This question is from I'm a Gamer on YouTube. It's on the video of highly aggressive foster dog won't allow putting muzzle on. Of Betty.
Oh, Betty.
It says, my dog won't put his leash on and any other thing we get for him. And when we put a leash on him for the first time, after a very light pull, he started being very aggressive and sensitive. Please help us. All right, guys. Dogs getting dramatic about having leashes put on them. I'm no stranger to this. Waffles. Waffles was that dog. So I talked about this in the podcast episode of First Week with the little guy right here. So one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that in the dog, in nature, right? Nature. Leashes, barriers, this, that, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
They don't exist, right? These are not natural things to dogs, particularly when you look at something like a leash, right? That's why you see all these videos of these feral dogs and people catching feral dogs, and they get something on them. They restrain the dog for the first time ever in that dog's life, and they absolutely flip their fucking shit. They go bonkers.
Yeah.
You know, they're backflipping and screaming and turning into Cujo, right? Because it's so unnatural. You're taking a dog that has learned its entire life, right? They could move towards things they like and move away from things they perceive as danger. And now you're telling them you can't really do either, right?
Yeah.
You're trapped in one spot here right now, right? And what we see is we see the dog resist it for the first time, right? Or some dogs, I should say. We see them resist it for the first time. So in the case of this guy right here, he's talking about his dog. He puts this leash on the dog, and anytime he feels any tension on it, anytime he feels that restraint and is reminded of that restraint, he gets very aggressive, right? Now, this is where you get into terminology of things, right? He's probably not getting aggressive, right? What he's probably doing is he's probably resisting and freaking out and trying to figure out how to break free of that restraint. And it's looking like aggression because it's a very highly amped up, highly aroused state of mind the dog is in. And they're probably trying to use a combination of their arms and their mouth to break free of that restraint.
Yeah.
Right? It's not aggression, right? Aggression, if we had to really define it, would be intent to do harm on a person or a dog.
Yeah.
This dog probably has zero intent to do harm, right? This dog is just trying to self-preserve and protect himself by breaking free from this restraint, right? So keeping in mind that these barriers and these restraints and these leashes and all this kind of stuff are so unnatural to dogs, we have to be able to understand that we may see those things out of the dog, and we have to understand why they're doing it and how to work through it, right? So when I put a leash on Waffles for the first time, right? So Waffles was like 14 weeks old, something like that.
Yeah.
He had never been on a leash in his life, right? He was from some Amish breed or somewhere. And I put this leash on him, and same deal happened. I applied a little bit of tension on the collar, and I'll tell you, dude, he started freaking out.
Yeah.
Like somebody was stabbing him repeatedly. Like it was
Yeah.
the most absolutely blood-curdling, horrendous sound that I've ever heard in my life. Right? Now, most people, when they'll see that, be like, oh my God, we have to stop.
Yeah.
Right? Like, we're
Yep.
hurting the dog. We're
Yeah.
injuring him. He's going to hurt himself, this, that, right? As opposed to realizing all of that is just resistance.
Yep.
That's all it is. It's a response. It's a panic response to him not understanding that sensation, right? It has nothing to do with him hurting, right? Or being in pain, right? So when you know that, you have the ability to either cater to it and make it worse, right?
Yeah.
Or coddle to it and make it worse, right? Or you have the ability to get past it immediately with the dog, right? Likely, knowing this person is on YouTube asking questions about when there's very light pulls, he starts getting very aggressive and sensitive, and we need help with this. This person has not pushed the dog past this point, which has never allowed the dog to get past it. Right? Instead, probably he's tried it. It didn't work. He tried it. It didn't work. He tried it. It didn't work, and caved into it every single time, which actually made the behavior probably
reinforced
worse
it
because it taught the dog that behavior works. Right? So, literally, the solution for this is by getting him repeatedly feeling that sensation on a safe collar that he's not going to be able to slip out of, obviously, and getting him realizing that the fighting doesn't work, but giving way to it relieves the pressure, right? If you get into, going back to our training guide that we created here, that's why phase 1 of our training guide with any dog that we work with is leash pressure, right? And what is leash pressure? I'll just read this here. The goal of this phase is to establish muscle memory of all the positions and commands we will be using with the dog. The goal is not perfection, just that we could relatively easily get the dog into these positions with minimal resistance. We'll be using a leash and prong collar in this phase. Obviously, our major goals are to be able to get the dog into a sit, down, heel, come, bed, and thresholds with no verbal commands, just negative reinforcement using the prong collar. We're focusing on stability of the position before releasing the dog. If the dog is food motivated, you could use food during the process with a good marker and feeding in place before releasing. Move on to phase 2 immediately when this goal is met. Note, some dogs are not very sensitive to leash pressure, meaning you only get so far in this stage. Remember, we're not looking for perfection, only that the dog knows generally what to do when they feel this pressure, and that we could fairly quickly get them into the position we're trying to do with minimal resistance. Long story short, we're teaching the dog how to move with the leash, right? Because a leash is unnatural, and we need to have the dog understand how to move with the leash in order to train them and get past some of those hurdles, right? So, very introductory stage of this is going to be what you're going to be doing with this dog, right? So, leash pressure introduction. On a 4 to 6 foot leash, begin walking the dog around the room, letting the majority of the leash stay loose to give the dog freedom to get away from you and not feel too restricted. As the dog gets distracted and nears the end of the leash, come to a stop, apply steady leash pressure in your direction, and release that pressure with the leash as soon as the dog begins giving way to that pressure. Walk around the room repeating this step until the dog is smoothly moving with the leash when they feel pressure, right? Now, the only difference or the only thing to keep in mind when you're doing this step is that when the dog feels the pressure, you got to wait that tantrum out until you get them to give way to the pressure, and then you actively relieve it. So we're teaching them, we walk around, I apply pressure, dog freaks the fuck out, and I sit there and I wait.
Yep.
And I wait. And I wait. And I wait. And I wait. And the second they take a step forward, good. Relieve tension, give food reward if you want to. If the dog is motivated. If not, just do it with the leash. The leash release alone is also reinforcing that, obviously. Yeah. And you just repeat that over and over and over and over and over and over and over again until the dog starts understanding the freak out doesn't work, walking towards it works. Because all they're trying to do is they're trying to relieve the pressure. That's all that they're trying to do. And you teach them that by releasing it when they do the thing you want them to do and teaching a more productive response to it, right? So that's really it in a nutshell, right? Now, if you have a dog that's so hypersensitive to it, you're going to want to have the dog have a leash on literally 24/7, right? Because I want to get them feeling that sensation all the time. I want them dragging that leash around and feeling the pressure and getting used to feeling it on their neck, right? I want anytime we need to move the dog anywhere, us to use the leash to get the dog to move with us so we can get past that hurdle quickly. And again, in the case of Waffles, we were past it in like 24 hours, right? We had a couple of major freakouts when I tried to get him downstairs, when I tried to get him upstairs, when I would try to get him outside to go into the car, right? And we worked through it every single time. I did not allow him to win with it. And because of that, it's a non-problem at this point. He's good with it. There's no issue. You know? So that's kind of the root of the thing. And this is why our training program is structured the way it's structured. A lot of people will say, first do all of this with food, right? If they're scared, use food to get them to follow you. Use food to get them to follow you. And I'm not saying it's like the absolute worst thing that you could do, but the problem is if you have a really food-motivated dog and they just follow that food all day, they're never actually learning what the leash is. They're just learning to follow you. But then when you run into a situation where they'd rather go chase this squirrel or go do this or go do that, and you have to use that leash to get them to move with you, you're still going to get that tantrum. You're still going to get that freak out because you've never worked through specifically that. So I try to work through the tantrum and the freak out, then use my food to reinforce from there, right? Then once the dog starts understanding the leash as its own independent communication, where we can get them moving with it and they understand giving way to it, you could teach them all your other positions. You could teach them your heeling, your sits, your beds, your come command, your threshold, your downs, right? You could then have that leash be its own independent form of communication that you could then use to train your dog. Right. And that's why, again, this is structured out in the way that it's structured. And that's why we use this with all the dogs that we work with. And we have it outlined in the order in which we have it. So that's kind of more or less the answer to that question. What do you think, Josh?
That was great. I was going to say it kind of correlates to, let's say, like a mom putting her child, like her 2-year-old, in a car seat, and it's the first time, and that kid is wailing. Does
that happen with car seats?
I'm pretty sure. Like, you strap them up in there, and they're just like, they're constricted, and like you just kind of have to wait it out, like, because you obviously can't just take your child out and put him on your lap. That's dangerous.
100%.
So I mean, it's kind of the same thing. Like, yeah, it sucks to listen to, but they're not getting hurt.
No. I mean, listen, nobody wants to feel like we're hurting dogs or putting dogs in distress, right? But you start understanding what stress is good stress and what stress is bad stress.
Exactly.
Right? And good stress is hurdles that are falsely created in the dog's head.
Exactly.
That we then spend the time working through to help get them past. Right? And knowing that this is going to be something that once we're past it with the dog, they're going to be more confident through it. This actually leads to another great point, right? So one of my trainers sent me a picture from a local training company somewhat recently. This was a couple days ago. Our trainer sent me a photo, and it was a picture of a dog on those I think they call them like the Fit Paws equipment, right? So like they're those like balls. What are those exercise balls you use? You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Like it's the half one.
Yeah, the half one.
Yeah. Whatever. So it's one of those like half ball things. Right. And basically the trainer had posted it and said confidence building with this dog, right? And my trainer sent it to me and said, why is this different than a bed, right? And I was like, you tell me. I was like, why would this be more beneficial to work on for confidence building exercise than a bed? Trainer said it's a new sensation. The dog is having to literally balance their body, being raised off the floor, and learning to balance is a skill that can build confidence. I said, bingo. I mean, that's basically it, right? It's a new surface that is going to be more difficult for the dog to get onto and stabilize on than your typical bed, right? Which means that it's going to be something that's more challenging for the dog to do. And anytime we're training dogs, as dogs do good with things, we want to incrementally make things more challenging for them, right? Now, here's the thing with this, right? We can get into sometimes confidence building, right, with dogs. Like we talk about this, right? We do confidence building exercises with dogs. But what really is happening with confidence building? Are we actually just building the dog's confidence? Sure. I mean, I would say yes, to some extent, the dog is getting more confident in themselves and their ability to do certain tasks.
Yeah.
But more importantly, and this correlates back to this question about the leash and teaching them to work through the leash pressure, right? So my reply back was, but past just balancing, it's a new thing that they are scared of that you can work through gaining leadership capital. This stuff has little to do with the dog, and this is my reply. This stuff has little to do with the dog just liking new surfaces or walking on them on their own or anything like that. It's teaching them when we guide them to do something, we always know best and will not force them to do something that is actually scary or will harm them. Leadership, leadership, leadership. Trust us. That's the key of any of this, whether it's a grooming tub, a bed, fit paws equipment, agility equipment, stairs, crates, noises, anything. Trust us to guide you through it. Confidence building isn't just for the dog. It's confidence building in your handler, in your leader, right? Mm-hmm. So more than anything, we're building their confidence when they do these things, but we're building confidence that regardless of what it is, because here's the thing. If we have a dog that's scared of stuff, right? I don't want to have to teach them this chair isn't scary. Yeah. This chair isn't scary. This desk isn't scary. This table isn't scary.
Yeah.
Josh isn't scary. This camera isn't scary. Those things over there aren't scary. I don't want to have to do it with everything.
Yeah.
Right? I don't want to have to make them confident in each individual thing. I want to generalize that to make them confident in me. That way, regardless of what it is, as we start to generalize this, they start trusting that and having confidence that I will always know what's best for them, and I will always be able to put them in these scenarios, and they'll trust that those things aren't scary because of me, not because of the thing, right?
Yeah.
So it starts with individual objects, but it ultimately becomes much, much bigger than that. It becomes much bigger in trust and confidence in the handler, and I think that's kind of the root of a lot of these different confidence building exercises that we do with dogs, and I think that's the key that isn't talked about enough. Is why are we doing these confidence building related things?
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. I mean, the biggest show of benefit of that is from, what was that?
I don't
know. The biggest show of benefit of that is on your walk.
Yep.
You know,
Sure.
Like the reason the dog is even able to stay there is because they trust you to lead them.
Bingo.
You know.
Bingo.
That's the good
lead
walk.
you regardless of where you're going.
Yeah. I don't know where we're going, but I trust you, buddy.
I trust you, buddy. I like it.
Yeah.
That's it, man. That's why we do all this stuff. And here's the thing. I know that there are a lot of like this trainer, for example, is very into, I believe, like the fit paws equipment. And another common one that we'll see trainers use that I know this trainer does is the bottles and stuff in the kiddie pool, right?
Okay.
It's a big thing that was kind of originated in the sport dog world that a lot of trainers have adopted as confidence building exercises.
Oh, yes.
You know? And here's the thing, right? I think to a more novice trainer, right? I think that when you look at certain trainers that are posting all of these different things like that, oh my God, equipment, this fancy little contraption over here, we're using this, that. It's like, oh my God, like if we're not using those things, like we're not building confidence in the why aren't we spending the time doing confidence building exercises, right? Where again, you got to be able to look at this from a zoomed out kind of macro level of confidence building has nothing to do with the thing you're doing it with.
Yeah.
It can be anything. It could be anything. All it is working your dog through something that they're scared of. And here's the thing. Regardless of if I have all of this equipment or not, right? I know that I've got a lot of different things over the course of a training program with the dog. I'm going to work them through that they're scared of. That's going to help them get past those hurdles just as effectively and achieve the same goal of them trusting in me as their handler just as effectively as any of those things.
Yeah.
So I don't need to spend hundreds and thousands of dollars on, different equipment in order to do that with.
Yeah.
Not saying it's bad. It's fine. You could do that, right? But your day-to-day that you will be going through with your dog and all of the tasks you need to do with them, from handling related drills, getting in grooming tubs, going up and down stairs, going into new places, climbing over different types of surfaces and stuff like that. We're going to experience all of that regardless.
Yeah.
You know? So we're achieving the same thing. You don't have to advertise it and make it look like those are the only ways to do it. You know?
Exactly.
And just because I touched on it, the kiddie pool related one that we were discussing, basically the idea of that is it's a texture and sound conditioning thing, right? So you get the dog walking through a kiddie pool with bottles and stuff that are crunching and stuff under them, right? And can help get them accustomed to those different types of noises. And we would do that in the sport dog world with food, right? We would lure a new puppy into there and we would start feeding them while they're doing all that kind of stuff. Because in a lot of these exercises that we do with dogs, and like Mondio Ring, for example, is teaching them to go into something and retrieve an object, teaching them to fight through accessories on a bite, which is like basically a bunch of bottles or noises and clanky things that are kind of shaking around the dog. And the more you get them used to those types of things, the more it directly helps with those exercises, right? But then you start getting into the conversation of like, we could do all of this. I can come up with a gazillion really ridiculous ways to condition my dog to different types of noises and stuff like that. In the dog's actual real world, you're not going to experience as much of that kind of stuff as you think you are. Right. So I think it's beneficial to do, but I think we could overdo it with the extreme stuff sometimes like that.
Yeah.
Where there are kind of smaller but more important fish to fry leading up to it that will actually benefit the dog in their day-to-day. You know what I mean? Like, why would, for example, right? Why would I spend a week conditioning a dog to gunfire, let's say, right? Like, if the dog is never going to go hunting, doesn't live anywhere where there's going to be gunfire going off all the time, right? And really all the dog needs is like a really good downstay, like when guests are coming over or something like that, you know? You get into like, yes, that would be a confidence building exercise. Gunfire, absolutely teaching a dog to be accustomed to that is confidence building. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's like, we don't have to do that with every single dog.
Yeah,
that we
that's a
work
little
with,
extreme for most dogs.
You know? So, you know, that's also the same as looking at, you know, we talk about when you're training dogs, looking at the individual person's lifestyle they live with the dog and spending time on those types of things. On the contrary, right? If I have a dog that lives on a gazillion acres, right, and never goes walking anywhere and doesn't live in the city and doesn't have guests come over ever and stuff like that, it's like, well, why am I going to spend my time in all these fancy commands when literally I just need the dog to come when called extremely freaking reliably and maybe get the dog conditioned to gunfire at that point.
Yeah, maybe.
Right? So it's, you know, you got to look at the individual dog and you got to ask yourself these types of questions. And this is what I find myself with, again, newer trainers and stuff like that. These are the conversations and it's really hard, right? I think it's really hard because there's so much push out there from some of these more like Instagram famous dog trainers or stuff like that on talking about we have to do all these enrichment activities and this and that. And we've talked about this before. They're beneficial. I'm not saying they're not beneficial, but they're getting preached as the end all be all of if you're not doing all of these confidence building and enrichment related tasks and stuff like that with your dog, you're not going to be able to live a successful life with them, right? Which is just bullshit. It's not true.
No.
You know, got to look at the individual dog. You have to be able to do that. What does this dog need? How much time do I need to spend on this? How much time do I need to spend on this? How much time do I need to spend on this in order to benefit the owner and their lifestyle as best as I can? Yeah,
you can't blanket it.
You can't blanket it.
No. It's just like a personal trainer. You know, not everyone's body type's the same. You gotta switch it up.
Got to switch it up. So,
bam.
It's good.
That was a good one.
We're not going to get into these articles. I don't think there's any need for it. I think we talked about enough cool stuff.
No, that was good.
I think that was good. A couple good tangents there.
Yeah.
See, this is what happens. We try to plan, and then it just takes its own form.
It does.
Flourishes.
We just go.
It just goes.
See, and that's what we were just talking about. You know, we were talking about at the beginning. We were trying to find our flow in the first few episodes, and I think honestly, the last like the 30s and 40s have been. We know what we're doing.
We got this.
We got this.
Got this.
Jeez.
Cool. Josh, anything else to note before we wrap this up?
No, man, that was great.
It was great.
I don't know. You know, you asked me that, but it's like when they go so smooth, I'm just like, I don't know what else I can add.
See that Sandman right there?
Sandman.
Coming back.
Coming back.
Coming back. See that Tobey Maguire right there?
Yeah.
Coming back.
Dude,
Here's what I'm excited for. So Josh and I were talking about Marvel movies before this. I'm excited for when they combine Venom and Spider-Man. Because it's going to happen at some point, obviously.
Yeah. Well, did you see?
I haven't seen the new Venom yet. Don't spoil it for me. But no, the last cutscene was where they introduced Carnage, and then the new movie was a Carnage. Is it? I wonder. Is it out on streaming yet?
It should be.
Hang on. We need to figure this out real quick before we end this podcast.
I can't. All these things, all these Easter eggs that I want to say, but I can't.
Venom 2 is still in theaters right now. When will it be available for stream? Hold on. 2 stream. When will Venom 2 be available to watch online? Available. Wait, what? Did it come out 4 days ago on stream?
Maybe.
Venom 2 available now. Free streaming online at home. Can you download? Wait. Friday, October 1st. It came out.
Mm-hmm.
Stream Venom 2.
Yeah, it should be on Disney by now, I would think. Or maybe it's not Disney.
No, only in theaters right now still.
Dang. Well, yeah, there's a...
It's going to be a little bit still. I might have to go to the movie theaters for this.
Yeah, because ending credits, my man, that's all I got to say.
I just feel like that's going to be an interesting...
It's going to be good.
Combination, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Because they really painted Venom in this, like, not bad light.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Like, he's kind of a good guy right now.
Yeah, he's
a misunderstood guy.
Yeah, he's originally an anti-hero. Like,
Yeah.
that's what he was. So...
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm very excited. We won't get back into a whole nother Marvel tangent, but
I don't know.
very excited for it.
Now it makes me think, the multiverse thing is that Venom going to come in too?
I don't know.
Anything's possible in the multiverse.
I don't know. All right, we got to wrap this up.
All right, yeah. You can find me at Josh Dobay Productions on Instagram or joshdobeyproductions.com.
Love it. Hit us at David the Dog Trainer and Miracle Canine Training. And again, keep asking your questions, and we'll keep giving you long, drawn-out answers. Until next time, we hope you enjoyed the show.
Bye.